Tell us everything.
Well, I mean, the short version is I did it, guys. But I'll give you a bit of the story. Yeah, I'm so relieved. But going back to what you said is that,
Riley.
oh, thank you. Welcome back to Muse on the Mic. I'm Riley.
And I'm Emily. Thanks again for joining us on another awesome episode of Muse on the Mic. We've got a fascinating one today and a bit of a follow-up to a past episode, which I think is going to be hilarious. The whole premise of coming out as a sex worker is terrifying and nuanced and deep and scary and unknown to so many. But we're going to watch a super fascinating video. Tell everyone about it, Riley.
We're going to start by watching a video from Charlotte Dobre from Facebook, and she's reacting to what I think is one of the most clever ways I've seen a sex worker come out to her parents. And let's face it, coming out is not easy. It can be terrifying. And this one, brilliant.
Chef's kiss. Let's watch it.
My sister made a PowerPoint to tell my parents she's a spicy dancer.
Open your eyes now.
Okay, all right, here we go.
Are you guys ready for this?
Oh, some visual aids.
Now, before you start worrying or getting excited, this secret pertains to my life, doesn't affect anyone. The only reason I'm sharing is because I want the people I love and trust the most to know what's going on in my life and just be a part of my journey.
Okay.
I mean, baby
Thank you. Thank you. What this secret does mean. I'm talented, I'm cool, I'm powerful, okay? What this secret does not mean. I'm pregnant or in danger, okay?
Talented, cool, and powerful.
Okay.
Are you ready for this? Drum roll. Da-da-da-da-da. I'm a as in I pulled it, and I love it. Now, there are some frequently asked questions on the next slide.
Well, they're taking it rather
So
well.
first you might be thinking, why? What's the point? Well, it's a positive environment and I can express myself safely. It's a performance, the theatrics, if you will. Is that why I've been able to suspiciously afford stuff? Yes, it is. It is. I make money doing that. Do I do any other kinds of No. All I do is dance, you see, and chat with people. There's no other sort of things to it, really. Is it under the table income? No, I do pay my taxes.
Well, good for you,
Now,
babe.
I will be taking questions. Thank you so much for your time.
I
have no questions.
I really appreciate you being forthright and sharing your life with us.
You're welcome.
And you are powerful.
Yes, I feel strong. It's like a skill I never thought I could learn.
So,
working out.
Didn't I say something?
You did! You literally guessed!
Wow.
Yes! One of the funnest jobs I've ever had. So I just wanted to share that with you because
He's clapping.
worry. So that's why I have the FAQs because it really is such. There's no reason why I didn't tell you. I just didn't really get around to it, and then I was like, it's time.
Yeah,
No.
it just adds more color to
And I'm
the
cool.
flavor.
Adds more color to the flavor of the family. Wow.
I love the creativity. I love her approach. I love how she disarms them with her humor. She probably made great speeches as a kid in like elementary school because she's got a way with the words. She'd be a good salesperson too because she's really selling it here.
She is. And I think her parents clearly are comfortable, open-minded people and trust their daughter to make decisions.
Yeah.
But the way she approached it, they didn't have really any room to have concern or to be aggressive with her. Like she just disarms them from the beginning and feeds them the information I think that they needed to hear, which is no different than, talking to a child. Give them what they need. And she was amazing.
Yeah, she really kind of hit all the questionables, the variables, the concerns right off the hop, just eliminated any of those objections. It's a classic sales technique, right? Eliminate the objections right away so that the only answer is yes. Sign here on the dotted line. And I appreciate her bravery, not just to do it, but to do it with both her dad and her mom in the same space, in the same delivery. That's not easy. Both of us, you and I, had separate conversations with our parents when news of our business broke out. Conversations with my parents when I was outed as a worker. Those were obviously under extenuating circumstances and therefore awkward conversations that were not fun.
Yeah.
But how I told them about the business was very strategic as well. And angled my approach differently for the two of them. I took a
Right.
bit of a more feminine, look, I own a pretty spa where sexy things happen approach my mom. And my dad, I was like, let's go out for a beer. We got to talk. I don't even like beer. He must have been like,
Right.
something's up because what? But either which way, it was over beer. And like that was just a different conversation. I really respect that she approached both with the same approach. I think the humor helped in that approach because clearly they're both fun parents. Kudos to the parents, just straight up,
Yeah.
because they could have reacted so many different ways. This video could have gone viral for so many different reasons. There could have
Yes.
been an aggression that happened. There could have been a dismissal, a denial. They could have stormed out the room. They could have broke the TV. They could have screamed at her and knocked her cell phone to the ground. Like it could have been like other TikToks we've seen, right? And instead they were, you could hear, like you could almost hear the pensiveness at first, the deep breaths and the like in their head going, okay,
Hmm.
very like this. And then once she really ticked off all those worry boxes, they were kind of left there going,
Okay.
hey, like, I don't know what to say.
And you know what I think it boils down to, if I could put myself in those parents' shoes, is I think it's
Mm,
trusting who you've raised. And
mm,
if it's coming
know your
from, I
kid.
mean, a lot of people go into sex work from a place of desperation, and I'm aware of that. But it almost seems like she's entered sex work and she's made a distinct choice. This is why I love it, and I love it. And this is what I bring to it. And why wouldn't you accept her? Like, I think you trust the child you've raised and the decisions that she's going to make for herself.
100%. It's so reflective of their relationship
Hmm.
and how they connect with not just their kid, but how well they know her. Um, and that's not always easy in a household. There's
Hmm.
often people that live together and don't really know each other. There can be a
Yeah.
lot of different kinds of disconnects, among siblings. There could be jealousy and a cluelessness once you're old enough to have a bit of a separation in your lives, different friend groups, those kind of things can all change. But relating, especially, listen, boys are rebellious in one way, but teenage girls are a nightmare for a while,
Hmm.
right? Like they're moody, they're little cunts half the time. They're
Right.
grumpy, they're grouchy, they're volatile, and this roller coaster of 1 minute crying, 1 minute happy, the next minute screaming. Like there's
Yeah.
so much to it, especially the relationship with a teenage girl and a dad. It seems like they've gotten through that rough part in a pretty healthy way on the other side of it, and that is not easy to do, and I respect that a lot. She, as the girl, felt comfortable enough to be like, I can really do this with humor because they
Hmm.
will react positively to me.
Yeah.
And to know that about your parents again shows how well y'all have this relationship. I think it's
Hmm.
it's something to envy, it's something to emulate. I think it's absolutely brilliant. The PowerPoint thing is studious and nerdy and hysterical.
I
I
love
think
it.
it adds a vanilla like little splash through it too, because
Hmm.
it's not like it was this sexy movie that was put together with
Right.
like clips from the club or like these are my work shoes. It
Hmm.
wasn't like that. It was kind of vanilla in the sense that she presented, she had like a philosophy behind it. There's a mission statement, there's numbers in black and white to back it up, there's math, the
Right.
things. It's like, here's my science project and my whole presentation. It was thorough, thought out, and audience appropriate. I thought it was
Hmm.
fantastic, to be honest.
I
I
agree.
really loved it. But it
It was
reminded
very
me
well
of
done.
one of our earlier episodes where we had talked about parenting and kind of an opposite coming out, where you finally
Right.
have to tell your children, mommy's a sex worker or mommy owns a sex worker business.
Right.
And you were on the cusp of getting to that point. We will link that episode in the caption, guys, because it's a great watch. It's really kind of a unique topic that we haven't dove into any other subject. But you have an update for all of us. And I can't wait for
Mhm.
people to hear the update because the feedback we got from that episode from both men and other sex workers was phenomenal. I was blown away at the amount of sex workers from across the globe that reached out to us, especially on Twitter, because that's really where we connect with
Yeah.
global sex work. Um, about how helpful it was, how reflective it was of their experience. And even when we had Annie on the show
Mhm,
a few episodes back, she talked about her experience telling her older children, her children are
mhm.
grown adults now. And so the variances of those conversations or how they might come about finding out is so nuanced. It would be impossible to make a manual for this. So
Yeah.
I'm excited for people to hear your story because it'll be another piece in that information that hopefully other parents and moms in the industry can use at least as a tool or inspiration for how they're going to handle these conversations. Tell us everything.
Oh, hey, welcome back to Just the Tip with Riley. So, today we're diving into breath play, and this fascinating topic has two sides there's the kink side and the tantric side. The tantric side focuses on synchronizing your breath, body's sexual energy, and connection, while the kink side is more focused on withholding breath or withholding oxygen flow to the blood. This can include smothering, ball gags, dom control, or face sitting. Both ends of the spectrum are powerful sexual tools and can lead to more intense orgasms. So in part 1 of our breath play segment, we're going to dive into the tantric side. Let's go, guys. Tantric breathwork is deeply powerful, intimacy enhancing, and can change you and your partner's sexual energy in minutes. Synchronizing you and your partner's breath and bodies is usually done face to face, where one partner's sitting straddled across the other with their legs wrapped around the waist. If this tip isn't enough, subscribe to Patreon for the whole thing.
Well, I mean, the short version is I did it, guys. But I'll give you a bit of the story. Yeah, I'm so relieved. But going back to what you said is that,
Riley.
oh, thank you. The reaction we got from the Mummy Dearest episode or Mother Dearest, I'm so happy because coming out to your children or living with hiding or shame behind your work is not easy. It's not something anyone wants to think about on a daily basis. And in my situation, it, like I spoke about in the episode, it was something I knew I needed to do. It was something I knew was going to come up. And I started really feeling like the time was approaching when we recorded that episode. And I still hadn't taken the plunge because I was worried, or, you're waiting for the right time, but it happened very organically. And in hindsight, I'm very thankful for that. So the story, I'll give you the short version, guys. My son actually, it came up and he said, well, what exactly do you do? And if I remember correctly, it was, I think, like a Thursday evening at like 9 o'clock. And I was like, I'm so glad you asked because I've been dying to talk to you and your sister about this, but let's do it Saturday. So I immediately deflected because I wasn't ready and my daughter wasn't around us at the time. And I thought, I'll do this when they're together. And he accepted and we moved on. And I had been like stressing it for days, thinking like, okay, the time's coming. What am I going to say? Sure enough, Saturday rolled around and he said, Mama, it's Saturday. Like he had been waiting. So we got into the conversation and it went so smoothly. I gave him a very blanket kind of explanation to what I do. And I think I even used this example with him. I said, if Mummy was a financial advisor, I wouldn't talk to you about dividends and RRSPs and mutual funds because that's not something at your age you can really digest and understand. So I'm going to give you some basics about Mummy's industry. And as you get older, we're going to talk more about it as many times as you need. And so the information I had given them was that it is an adult business. It's not made for children. And that's why I haven't told you yet, or I haven't told you up until this point. But I think you're ready, kind of giving him, kind of empowering him that, he's getting older and they're ready to digest what I have to share. And so I said it's adult and it's very sexy. I think I used the word sexy at least 10 times. I said it's sexy massage. It's it's between a man and a woman. I didn't get into couples or that females come in. Again, I'm giving kind of just the basics. He did ask me if there was sex, and my answer was no. He asked me, could men do it? I think his entrepreneurial mind was wondering when he can start making some money. But it honestly was such a non-topic to both my kids. Neither of them were really like a big deal about it. And I think when you're talking to your children, every situation, child, and circumstance is different. But for me, I am so glad that it happened at this age because I'm able to lead with the basics. And like I said, maybe next year we have 5 questions, and the year after that we have 2 more. And those are much easier for me to explain or dive into, opposed to hiding it till they're adults and I need to give it all to them. I think
Right.
going in stages is so much more digestible for me as the parent, and even for them, being on the receiving end. So it's done.
Well done, Riley. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of the kids, and I'm so proud of you. Um, you also spoke to your daughter, so she's
Mhm,
in the where she's aware as well and in the know now, and that I think went equally great, right?
mhm,
And I think it's cool. I'm sure they too had a little conversation about it and be like, so how did
mhm.
your talk with mom go?
Right.
To be a fly on that wall. But
Yeah.
I love that they have the openness that they know if they have more questions, they can come to you.
Mhm,
I love the way you empowered them. And I really appreciate that not only did you take an age appropriate tone, but you're pacing them instead of
mhm,
overwhelming them. And I think that's perfect. Kind of like you said, if it was an adult child
mhm.
and that was suddenly dumped, I think at any big old age, that would be a lot to
Yeah.
digest all in one conversation. That's like a trauma dump in itself, right?
Mhm,
Like here's this explosion of news. Um, I think, just pacing it makes sense. And so as they kind of get curious and like some of our more recent episodes have talked about, as they grow, as they become more curious about their own sexuality or
yeah.
their own bodies or their own intimate relationships, or first time, your daughter goes for a real massage, can be like, is this the kind? And you're like, no, that's a different conversation. Like all
Mhm,
these little conversations will come up. But I feel like you're going to be more confident and
mhm.
comfortable, even if you're not like studiously prepared in the sense that you made like notes going into the conversation.
Right.
Because I love you, I know you love to do that. But even if you're not going to be as thrown by it, because we've already done the basic stuff, that was the scary part. The
Yeah.
band-aid's ripped, right? So now little questions where they're going to be like, what are the men like, or what
Mhm,
else do they do there, or whatever kind of extra questions might come up. That's easy peasy. We talk about that shit every day on the podcast, every day in our life. Like
mhm.
that's just to me more vanilla
I
than the
think,
big like
yeah.
da, da, da.
And I think it was just normalizing it. And just like I remember in the Mommy Dearest episode, we talked about the name Riley, that yes, they've always been aware of it, they've seen it and heard it. It's just normal to them that now, even though they're not like baby age, but they're still young children, I think it's a
Yeah.
matter of they have some information. And to them at this point, it is normal. And I remember saying to them something to the effect that my concern was they were going to tell people at school, and it again, this is not information for children. So I was worried
Right.
about what they would share. And I said, as people start to find out, if and when that happens, and you're going to have to deal with maybe people not thinking it's normal or not understanding it. So I need you to have that understanding to explain to them. And they had no concept. They would like, but why wouldn't someone like it? And it's because they
Right.
haven't been exposed to stigma before. And it will come, but at least again, it's been normalized. It's a conversation. Everything's kind of out there within, limits. And as more comes up, I'll deal with it, baby steps.
For sure. I think with that risk of like how they might be judged by others, it changes as they age, right? I feel like
Mhm.
when you're 16, 17, 18, you care more about what your friends think than your own
Yeah.
oxygen, right?
Hmm.
Whereas young children, if younger children are judging, it's probably coming from the parent. It's probably a parent that's like, you can't
Hmm.
hang out with that little boy anymore because his mommy's da 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 da, right?
Yeah.
And that's how most hate gets passed on, anyways. It's learned, right? It's not naturally
Hmm.
born. Um, and there's going to be differences in those kind of conversations. And if a parent wants to judge you, I know you won't give a fuck because who cares about that
Right.
lady? But in essence, it'll prepare them for those kind of conversations too. Whereas once they're like, in the thick of high school and only care about their friends' opinions, that's different, but I can't see friends being that kind of judgy. If
Hmm.
anything, they're going to be like, your mom is hot, like that kind of vibe, instead
Right.
of the whole, like, I can't hang out with you because
Yeah.
whatever, my mom said that you're bad or something. Like, they're just going to mature past that point in the blink
Hmm.
of an eye because the age they're at right now is a very short window before, like, teenager. Like,
Yeah.
you're going to be boom in the thick of that mayhem in no time. Strap in.
Mhm.
But those like the judgment that will come is just very different. And I think we're blessed we're in the era of society that we are too, is because
Yeah.
so much of it, there could be 8 kids he's in class with. They're like, yeah, my mom has an OnlyFans. So like it's
Right.
normal. It's a lot of
I
normal.
hope
And
so.
that's very different than the 50s. You know what I mean? Like we're in a good place and a good
I
time.
agree.
And I'm so proud of you for making sure that you
Mhm.
and your kids in this regard are in a good place for their own development, but also so that they can be proud of who their mom is too. And I know they really are.
I know.
Yay.
I feel so much lighter. So that's a
Yay.
positive thing. And like I said, it's not something I have to stress about anymore. I'm sleeping easy, guys. So thank you for listening and like coming on this journey with me. And I hope it has, at least brought up the topic in other sex workers' minds of how to approach this. And again, just my personal opinion is sooner than later, but
Yeah.
that's where I'm sitting.
And that it can go great. It doesn't have
Mhm.
to be an end of the world conversation, right? Regardless of what the nerves ahead of time say. But I mean, that's a human instinct, right? To assume the worst, but it
Yeah.
can go really, really well. And I think that's what I was saying at the beginning of like, I hope this inspires others because they might
Mhm.
be stuck in the dread part
Yeah.
and the worry of it all. And you know what? Most of the time, we overthink those kinds of moments way too much. And in the
Mhm.
end, it goes fine. It goes absolutely fine. Your kids are awesome. And they of course are only going to be more awesome with more understanding. And
Yeah.
that relationship grows and all the positive things that come from it. So I love the feedback that we've gotten. I love how therapeutic this podcast is
Mhm.
because it's for us too, as much as it's for others. It's cathartic, it's therapeutic, it's helped us grow. And here
Mhm.
you are moving with your children into a new phase and a new extra piece of entrepreneurship, of empowerment, of, mom as the badass boss babe. And a little bit of sexiness doesn't throw the family off kilter. And I think that is absolutely fantastic. It's reflective of your extended family as well and how they reacted to us owning the business. And that trickle down effect is just beautiful to see it continuing on because there's so much acceptance. And that's the best place for anyone to thrive, including
Yeah.
us. Like you are definitely much lighter without
Mhm.
that worry over you. And it was like this hovering thing all summer, right? Because like, when is it going to happen? When is it going
I
to happen?
know.
I didn't want to ask too much to be annoying and be like, so did you do it yet? But
Mhm.
like, as soon as you told me, I was ready to throw a parade. Like, let's just cheer because I knew how worried you were. So I think it's awesome. So all of the mom sex workers watching, the boys
Yeah.
that are sex workers that might be dads, rip the band-aid, go for it. Make sure it's age appropriate, but have the confidence in your own knowledge and your own self and pride in your work because sex work is real work and
Yeah.
hard work and valuable work. And so the more we can normalize this, let's raise generations with no stigma. That would be a dream. It'd be
Cheers to
glorious.
that, Emily.
Yay. Cheers to Riley and progress all around.
Mm.
Thanks for
Thank you.
joining us, guys. This is an awesome one. I feel like I'm just cheeks hurt for a different reason. I'm beaming.
Yeah, I agree.
I
We'll
love
see you
it.
next
Job well
time,
done,
guys.
Riley. We'll see you
Thank
next time,
you.
guys. Bye.